This isn't just another podcast. It's a movement, a global wave of women from Nairobi to Nashville, Seoul to Sao Paulo, stepping out of the shadows and into the spotlight. Women who are ready to be seen, to be heard, to be unmuted. I'm Anjuli Marshall, an award-winning ABC and NBC journalist and speaker, turned business strategist, coach, and mom. My mission? To amplify the voices of women who were never meant to stay silent. One woman, one voice, one story at a time. So go ahead, put on your comfy pants, grab a coffee, and maybe the remote. Are you ready to press the button? Unmuted starts right now.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of Unmuted. I'm your host, Anjuli Marshall, and this is where we amplify the stories of women who are rewriting the rules of success. They're refusing to stay silent. Women who lead with courage, wisdom, and a global perspective. And today's guest is no different. Her name is Beth McDonough. She's a tenacious and Emmy award-winning crime and public safety reporter who covered some of the most pivotal news stories in the country, from 9/11 to the death of George Floyd and beyond. But Beth's most personal story is one of deep struggle and redemption, candidly shared in her upcoming memoir, Stand By. Now living with her two rescue dogs among the Red Rocks of Utah, Beth is proof that no story is too hard to sell and no voice is too broken to be heard. Mm-hmm. Beth, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I love that. You can be both broken and brave, right?
Absolutely. And you are a testament, a living testament to that. I want to give people at home an understanding of why this, honestly, in my opinion, is one of the most important interviews I could do, because I think that your story is a story of resilience, but it's a story of honesty. It's a story of honesty because so many of us have had, we've had moments where we didn't make the right choice or we fell down. And something that you said when we were talking before was the world may want you to stay down, but you can't. So tell us your story and how you were down, but you got back up.
So I was working for Fox News, KMSP in Minneapolis, and I'd worked in New York and Philadelphia and Houston, in Oklahoma City, many other markets, as we do, climbing the ranks.
Right.
And, I was, all things considered, I was pretty set. Like I'd had a good run as a crime reporter. I had a lot of deep contacts and sources. So I broke a lot of stories, which is what TV news is about, content, of course. Yeah. And it was around 2005 that I got a call that my mother was sick in Oklahoma. And so I flew there to go take care of her. And she passed 2 days later. It was very quick and unexpected. And I happened to have a romance that ended at the same time. My contract in TV news was not getting renewed, along with a bunch of other people's. So I was going to be looking for a job very quickly. And also when I got to Oklahoma, then my father and my mother were married for a very long time. He really took her death very, very hard. And in addition to probably having a mental break, he had quadruple bypass surgery. All of this was in 1 month. And of course, you know this from being in TV news, you get a backbone, you get to be pretty strong because you deal with a lot of people's tragedies day in and day out. But this was mine. And I don't say it as an excuse, but simply an explanation of the stress that was going on in my life at the time. And right, millions of people deal with stuff every single day. So mine is no different. But what makes mine different is just that I have a very, at that time, unusual job. And it's hard to be a crime reporter when you commit a crime. Mm-hmm. And I had noticed that my drinking had started to increase after I came back to Minnesota and dealt with all of that. That maybe instead of a couple of nights a week after the newscast, we'd go out and blow off steam, decompress, and kind of in the hope that you don't take home what you saw all that day. And then it became, maybe some weeknights and weekends. And then before I would go into work, I would drive to different liquor stores. So the store clerks would know, hey, I'm the girl who's coming in, buying repeated bottles of wine, or I've got a problem. I'm here a little too often. And then I also noticed that I was cutting back on things in my household so I would be able to afford the alcohol, which is just insane. Just cut out the alcohol. You're fine with the rest of your life, but that's not alcoholic thinking. So that was 2005. And into 2006, 2007, the 35W bridge collapse happened in Minneapolis, and 142 people were injured. I believe 13 died. I covered that, and we were helping people out of the water who'd been stuck in their cars when this massive bridge during rush hour fell into the water. And it was shortly after that I got my first DUI. And this from having a contract, we have morality clauses in our contracts. Yeah. Plus, I worked for Fox News, and they have a zero tolerance policy. And my boss, who I loved and had just such great respect for, said, I will do the best that I can, but I don't know if you'll be able to keep your job. And he offered me help. He said, if you've got a problem, we'll send you to treatment. You tell me that right now. And shame and stigma being what it is, it's a very powerful tool. It held me back. Like, I knew I was starting to have a problem, but I really thought, I'm going to get on top of this. I'm going to get in control. This will never happen again. And you realize you don't control alcohol, it controls you. I was able to maintain abstinence for a little bit, but slowly these things creep back in. If you pick up another drink and you're hardwired to be an alcoholic like I am, it runs in my family. And so in 2008, on Halloween of all nights, I was out with coworkers and, thought, oh, I'm starting to have too much to drink and I better hurry up and get home. Why I didn't take an Uber or cab, who knows? But again, that's stinking thinking of an alcoholic. And so I drove home, and I didn't live too far away, but on the way, I hit another vehicle on the highway. He wasn't hurt, thank goodness. I did damage the back of his car when I hit his bumper. And by the time I got home, the police were there at my front doorstep waiting for me. And so I was arrested for a second time. And I say a second time because the first time I got in trouble, I had a little blurb in the paper, and the bosses are like, if you have a problem, we'll help you. And, I said, I don't. Well, this time I knew I was going to be in big time trouble. And my book, Stand By, starts out, we're running hot. I open up when I wake up in the drunk tank with other women who were also arrested for DUIs. And they are standing around a TV set on the wall, because what do you do to pass your time in a drunk tank for the weekend? And my mugshot popped up. And then the anchor started talking about me. And these are people I know well. And that was just such a gut punch. And then I hear all of these women around me. Ooh, I bet she's really in trouble. Her life is, going to suck. She's probably going to be fired. And I'm like, oh, she's going to be fired. All right. Because I had gotten my first warning. My boss threw me a lifeline and I rejected it. And by the time I got out of jail for that weekend, because my attorney would not bail me out as a lesson. And then when he did on the Monday, he parked also his vehicle several blocks away from the jail. So I would have to come out and do the perp walk in front of other media. And the perp walk, I have captured many people on the perp walk, and I was now the perp. And, I get in the car with him, and my attorney said, you've got a problem. This isn't a party crime now. This isn't you have a drinking and driving problem. You have a drinking problem, and you need to deal with it. What are you going to do about it? And so getting fired by this boss that I had such great respect for, and we worked together so well. And he said, you helped to put us on the map. And this was so gut wrenching. And he followed that up with, but you are no longer of use to us. As of today, you're fired. We've got a cab waiting for you outside of the TV station. It could take you home or to take you to treatment. It's up to you. You make the decision of what happens next in your life. And that's what got my attention.
Yeah. That would get anybody's attention. Wow.
Right. I love that. I loved reporting more than anything. I really lived for it. And I think it wasn't just what I did. It was who I was personally and professionally. And as such, and as a crime reporter, I've asked a lot of hard questions of people and held a lot of people accountable. And now I know both sides of it because I had to answer some hard questions and I had to be held accountable. And it was time and I was ready. I knew I had a problem.
So where do you go from I am in the thick of all of this right now, it's happening real time, to I have a problem? Was it immediate? Like, I know I have a problem? Or was there ever a moment where it's like, no, actually, I don't have a problem. I think I'm okay. Like, did you ever struggle with that?
No, I knew by my increasing drinking that I had a problem. I knew this was something because I tried to stop on my own and I couldn't. No one can. You know, alcohol it's powerful, boy. And if you're genetically hardwired to be an alcoholic. I had 2 grandparents who died from it. I had a sister who died from an overdose. My biological father, who abandoned us when I was little, he had substance abuse problems and also some mental health issues. And as you kind of get into the history of that, I immediately accept it. I have a problem. I acknowledge it, and I'm willing to do something about it. I was willing to do anything to get better, get healthier, get sober, and figure out if I even had a life after this.
You've written about all of this in your memoir, Stand By, and it dives deep into your struggles. So what was the hardest truth as you were writing this book? What would you say was the hardest truth for you to really confront about your journey?
The hardest truth. I started writing the book as therapy for me. I was on house arrest at the time, 37 days of house arrest. And that was after spending a couple of weekends in jail and going to the workhouse for a weekend as well. And I thought, I just need to get all this gunk in me out. Let me just start chronicling everything I went through. And I think what was really hard for me is no one wants to grow up to be an alcoholic and be labeled an alcoholic. That's not a choice, but your recovery is a choice. And what was especially hard is I had to get in there and excavate some wounds that I needed to process. And I'd been putting that off. That's why I was drinking, trying to numb it, trying to escape, keep it at bay. But I knew I really had to get inside, do some soul searching, excavate some wounds, process them, and, you know, and then make some different choices going forward. But that was going to take a great deal of therapy, and treatment is exactly what I needed. I went to a 30-day treatment program at Hazelton, Betty Ford. And then after that, and you kind of learn the medical whys and hows in your family history and how alcohol affects women differently than men. And treatment was the next best step for me at that point. And then when I got out of treatment after 30 days, I did aftercare for 6 months, which is like outpatient, continued treatment. I got a sober roommate. And I got rid of all the liquor in my house, gave all my friends my barware, my wine glasses, you know, things that you used to think were prizes and sparkled in your home, and gave all of that away, get it all out of my house, because for me, it was going to have to be abstinence or else. And it was time to face the music.
Yeah. So you've got 2 DUIs,
Yes.
an addiction. What on earth kept you going through all of this? This is not just a hard time. This is life-changing. This is devastation. What kept you going through all of that?
As a reporter, I'm not a very good quitter. And that works great professionally. Personally, when you're an alcoholic, that's a big, big problem. So I had to really force myself to quit, put that bottle down, step away. That's poison for you. You cannot do that anymore. And then I really had to do soul searching and looking at my life of like, okay, Beth, you know, you've survived abuse, you've survived cancer, you've survived, you know, how many job relocations because of the news industry. I've survived a lot in life. I was shot during the George Floyd riots. I have Lyme disease. I was bitten by a tick while covering a story in Wisconsin. So I've survived a lot. And those are things out of your control. Yeah. Well, the alcoholism, the drinking is in my control. And it was really just, you know, it was time to pony up. And because of the firing, I really listened. And in a strange way, I exploded this atomic bomb in my life. This was very self-inflicted. And the devastation of that really helped to redevelop me into being a better person.
So, Beth, you're developing into this, as you call it, a better person, making better life choices, right?
Yes.
How does someone who's been through that much and had that much to lose find the courage to share a story that's so raw, so personal, and so public?
It obviously took me a while to overcome the shame, if you will, because shame is such a powerful thing. And that's what kept me from getting help the first time around when my boss offered me help. Shame is just, you know, it keeps you hidden, it keeps you in your secrets. And I took a step back to go, okay, Beth, you know, you're hard charging, you've run hard your whole life, you solve other people's problems for a living, essentially. And now you've got to focus on yourself and solve your problems. And it starts with you. When you ask for help, and being a reporter and in the news business, you get a really strong backbone. We think we can do it all. And it's generally us against the world every day when you step out into the field. Yeah. And I'm a strong person, but I realized that was not my strength anymore in this situation because I couldn't get through it on my own. No alcoholic can. And what I realized is reaching out and asking for help, which was always kind of a 4-letter word to me, a dirty little word. I thought, no, you know, I can just take care of it. Yeah. Reaching out for help turned out to be, and this was a pleasant surprise to me, one of the best things I did because it doesn't diminish your strength. It amplifies it. It magnifies it because so many other people will come in to help those who are helping themselves. And rock bottom for me, I'm like, well, you know, I'm broke. I'm losing my house. I lost my job. Don't have any money in the bank. No one will hire me. I tried to get hired at the mall and at the grocery store because I was really damaged goods. And so I'm like, well, rock bottom is where my rebuild begins. And alcoholism isn't a choice, but recovery is every day. And it's one that I take very seriously every day. And also by sharing my truth, because I was in such denial and hiding my demon for as long as I could. But that's kind of like grief. It's going to catch up with you. And by finally sharing my truth and that I know I have a problem, that and it will help others get past their stigma and help them to face their truth as well, because that's really where the healing starts. Like, just get it all out there, get it out of your system, because your body holds on to trauma and you got to get it out of your system. And you can be, as we mentioned, both broken and brave. Yeah. And the book talks about, you know, getting all of my strength stripped away and like, okay, I am laid bare now. This is where we start from ground zero. Let's rebuild. Let's come back better. Let's be the person that you want to be. Let's kick this addiction. Let's help others along the way, because my story is about addiction, but it's a great deal about resilience. My whole life has been about survival. I feel like I have 21 lives. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I think show other people you can go through all of this horrible stuff, and that's not the end of your story. That's just a chapter. It's a part, and you have to earn your recovery. You got to work for it. It doesn't happen magically. But I want to show people, when you put in the work, what you get on the other side. And that's the light.
That's beautiful. Something that you just made me think about is my little ones are 4 years old and 6 years old, and my oldest, actually both of them, they'll say things like they'll have something will happen, and they'll say, "Mommy, this is a terrible day. It's a terrible day, Mommy." And I'll say, "Was it a terrible day or was it a terrible moment?" Because it doesn't have
Oh,
to be a terrible day. We had a
right.
really hard moment. It was hard. And I'm just so grateful that you honestly have lived this. You had a bad moment. You had a really hard moment, but it's still a good day. You're having a good day, you know? Um, and I'm grateful that your story is being told to the world. I do have a question about like how
Oh,
you put one foot in front of the other. Once you knew the path of recovery is where that's my path, that's what I'm doing. You said that you were losing your home, that
yes.
there was no employment, you were considered damaged goods, right? So you couldn't get a job. Like you're overqualified to work at the mall. You couldn't get a job at the
Mhm.
mall. That's a
No,
hard.
I couldn't.
What did you like tangibly? What did you do to start over?
I did reach out to other TV stations in the market in a Hail Mary, honestly, of hoping they would still see the experience and the tenaciousness in me that I had to offer, that wasn't stripped away.
Yeah.
But that was a hard no from everybody at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, Beth McDonough, what are you going to do now? You know, this career that you have spent your whole life building, that you loved more than anything and cherished, and
Wow.
would have done anything for and did. I'm like, okay, well, we have got to pivot. And in Minnesota, if you get more than one DUI in 10 years, you lose your license for a year and they seize your vehicle. So here we are in the dead of a Minnesota winter in December. I lost my car, I lost my license. And the people, the traditional support systems that you think you'll have, like my parents, they had passed. So they weren't around to be supportive. Friends had pulled away a little bit because they weren't quite sure what I was becoming, and I was damaged goods. They didn't want to be associated with it. So you mentioned my dogs, and I've always loved dogs since I was a little girl. And I thought, well, what can I do that I don't have to drive anywhere? And I need to make some cash. I got to put food on my table because literally I did not have, social safety net, if you will. So I went to my neighbors. I lived in this townhome community and started knocking on doors, and they all know me. Hey, can I walk your dog for $20? I'll walk your dog and pick up their poop. You don't have to worry about it while you're away at work. So my neighbors hired me, and that's what I did. I walked around the neighborhood picking up their dog's poop for 3 years. And I was able to grow that into not just a dog walking business, but a doggy daycare. But because I lost my home, I didn't have a place to hold it. And so a client that I didn't know before all of this happened, but she became a client. And she let me rent a really small warehouse that I had to renovate myself because I was broke and couldn't pay anyone to do it. So here I am, whipping out 20 years of stuff in this warehouse, painting walls. I apologize about that. Building crates for the dogs to stay and creating an area for grooming, and picking up dog poop there, right? And
Mhm.
I did for 3 years. It was called hot dog walking. And I was so emotionally and physically exhausted because we would house easily 40 dogs a day. And an offer came in 3 years in that was a good offer. And I was physically and emotionally tapped. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to take this deal. And it gives me some financial stability again. I can afford to go get a car. And so I did sell my business and take that offer. And literally, when I was walking out of a car dealership, after purchasing that car, I got a call from KSTP television out of the blue, one of the stations that just a few years prior said, nope, we don't have a place for you.
Hmm.
And they called me out of the blue and said, hey, listen, we've got an off-camera position. It's an investigative producer. You'll be crafting and putting together and shaping stories for other people. And we think you might be a good fit for that. But again, it's off camera. Would you still be interested? And jumped at it. I was so thrilled that this lifeline was extended to me, and the Hubbard Zone KSTP, and they are very supportive of recovery. And if employees have issues, they try to get them help, and they give people a break. And they gave me a break with the guys, and the understanding that once a week I go to an AA meeting, I bring them proof that I was there. I don't drink anymore, and I hadn't. And I was so incredibly grateful and appreciative that I was just going to work harder than ever and prove to them why they made the right decision to bring me back. And so I was able, by the grace of God or your higher power, to get back into TV news years later. And it's interesting because I went on to have an even better career, sober, than I ever did as a high functioning alcoholic. And I broke some of the biggest stories of my career. It was amazing.
Wow. Wow. I have goosebumps.
I mean, who'd have thought? I certainly wouldn't have thought I was going to work for it because, I'm very tunnel vision. This is what I want. I want this career. I want this life back. I want my life back. I have my health now. And let's use this for some good, because I was part of the problem before, drinking and driving on the roads. I was part of the problem, so I wanted to be part of the solution.
Yeah, I'm a woman of faith, and I just hearing your story, I just can't. I can imagine the Lord saying, "Now you're ready. Now you're ready to walk into what I really want you to walk into. All this greatness I have. Now you're ready for that. Now it's not going to consume you. Now you're ready for it, right? Because if you're not ready for that blessing, it will consume you."
Oh, it will, and it did. And I wasn't ready for the help the first time around. It was offered to me on a platter, and I flatly turned it down out of shame and stigma. And, you think you're going to lose everything if you admit you're an alcoholic. Well, guess what? You're going to lose everything. Even if you don't admit you're an alcoholic, things in your life will happen that lead you down that path. And I couldn't wait to get back to my purpose and to share other people's stories, because that's how I made my living for 30 years, was telling other people's stories. And then, with the book, I thought it's time to tell my story. People, saw the headlines, they saw the scandal, they saw my walk of shame coming out of jail. And there's more to me than that. And I want people to understand that you are not defined by the worst thing you've done in your life. You just simply are not. That becomes a place of rebuilding right there. That is ground zero.
That is ground zero. Beth, you have rescue dogs, yes?
Yes.
So
yes, and I have them sitting next to me right now.
Oh, poopas. So I was a doggy. I was a doggy mom for 12 years. And while I was working in television, going from state to state, right, from contract to contract, and my dog Violet was always there with me, flying to different states. She was always there with me. And so when I thought about this, I thought, man, we call them rescue dogs, but the truth is sometimes they rescue us instead of us rescuing them. What do you think about that? And what role do your rescue dogs play in your life?
Oh, I love the question. Thank you for asking that. Towards the end of my drinking career, if you will, I remember one time I was opening up a bottle of Chardonnay, because white wine was what I used to like to drink. And I looked over at my dachshund, and I have 2 dachshunds, and I literally saw him roll his eyes and take himself to bed. Like, I'm not going to watch mommy go through this again. I'm not going to be a part of this. Wow. And that really broke my heart that my dog even recognized that. And I hadn't just yet. Yeah. So my dogs they're everything to me. I didn't have children. They are my children. Mm-hmm. And truly, they are everything. I would do anything for them. And they will do anything for me, which is wonderful. We are really tight. We have this great bond. And when you can come home and you have this little furry, wiggly, waggly, tongue licking, joy that just when they see you, you are the best part of their day and their life. And I thought, I looked at them like, you need to get this together. You need to be the mom that they deserve and be the mom that they think you are. And they certainly had a good life, but they didn't always have my attention because it was divided and distracted by this disease that I was grappling with and struggling with behind the scenes. And in the healing, when I go to sleep with them, and anyone who knows dachshunds know they burrow, and so they go under the covers. And I love it when their little hot dog bodies slam up against mine under the covers, and we snuggle and we sleep. And when we wake up in the morning and they come crawling out with big old bed hair on their ears, and they just love me for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are many lessons in that. They love you unconditionally. They always forgive. They have short memories, and they love you for you. And the love that I give them makes them love me back. And that has just been everything going forward.
Mm. Oh my gosh. I love that so much. What are their names? What are their names?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear that. Mendel and Simpson. And, just in the interest of transparency, I'll tell you, little Simpson, I had to put him down 2 days ago. I'll try not to cry. He was with me for 16 and a half years. So that makes him 113, I believe, in human years. And little guy, just the last few weeks, his little body and his organs were failing him. And so I had to put him down on, a couple of days ago, Tuesday. So I still have Mendel. Mendel's 9 years old, and Mendel is quite happy to be in pole position now.
Mendel. My heart goes out to you, Beth. I understand what that grief is like. And it's not easy. And
it's not, no.
Yeah.
He was, one of my longest relationships. I was married at one time for 11 years, and I'm like, I had him for 16. So my dog was my longest relationship besides my career, which spanned 30 years.
That's your baby. That's your baby.
That's my baby.
Oh, my goodness. There's a mom out there right now listening to your story or watching, and this is really hitting home. But maybe there's this feeling of, she did it, but I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can start over. I don't know how to do that. How would you encourage that woman right now?
Oh, that is such a great question. I'm glad you asked, because women, I learned this in treatment, that women, we are affected much more quickly by alcohol than men. And in fact, our bodies absorb 30% more alcohol than men because we have more fat. Men have more water. Alcohol dissolves in water in the body. So, and my friends used to say, I'd have one drink and I went from 0 to 100. And they're like, we had the same drink. Why are we not going off the deep end like you are? And so you learn that in addition to being hardwired as an alcoholic, that we women, we feel the inebriating effects of alcohol much more strongly than men do. So I get how women, are like, God, how can I do this? Because how do you do it on your own? Can you do it on your own? And a few things that I would say is, again, reaching out to people who have walked the walk, because we know what it takes to get through. And I explained this in the book I not only, started off with you in the jail cell with me, and you see all of this. I don't wait till I'm safely on the other side of sobriety. I started writing this book from the get-go to take everyone through the good, the bad, and the ugly behind the scenes, because it's punishment and consequences. But that leads you to transformation. You have to go through all of that to transform. And by sharing your truth, a woman sitting at home, and I used to sponsor a couple of people, and I actually fired them because they wouldn't be honest about their alcoholism with the people in their circle and all around them. And I said, no, that's not how I roll. I own it. I did this to people. You need to own it. This is your problem. It's not other people's problem to solve for you. And so I'm very honest about that. it's with a lot of help, commitment, therapy, and acceptance of being an alcoholic, because you can say you're an alcoholic and then whether you act on that or not, to get some help. But by sharing my truth, I hope it gives women the strength to also face their truths, come out, own it. And in this day and age, the world is just so much more accepting of people with messy stories, because we all have stuff. You know, my problems aren't any bigger or better than somebody else's. They just happen to be my problems. And we all have stuff in our lives. And I can use this platform for good to help them, show them, here's what I did to get to sobriety and recovery and to reestablish myself and reclaim my identity professionally and personally. Here's things that worked for me that could also work for you. And you don't have to do this on your own. Doing it on your own won't get you anywhere. But if you reach out to people, people really will help those who help themselves, and commit to it. Don't just, go into it half-heartedly. Like if you, and this applies to not just if you have addiction, but, if you are looking to reinvent yourself, recovery, if, and we all have regrets and bad decisions we've made in our life. I give you some actual tools that you could take to heart to help you to overcome that. And when you share with other people, what do? You connect, you bond, you form friendships, your circle increases and magnifies, and the resources available to you when you go, I've got a problem and I know it, the resources you'll have so many more to help you get the life that you want.
That's so great, Beth. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It's a raw, real, but so beautiful, this story. The story is like, your theme is like resilience, truth and resilience. And I am so grateful to you for sharing that with us. Thank you for being here today. I told you that we have a game to play.
Yes.
I am
Go on.
excited. I'm really excited to play this game with you. Because one of the things that I love about this game is that when we're interviewing people, as my sister in the news, right? When we're talking and interviewing people, we really get this one perspective of them, because some of the questions that I'll ask you have nothing to do with anything. So right. I love this part of the podcast, because I'm able to just really tap into who you are even more so. And so it's called Hot Mic. It's 15 rapid fire questions. They're very strategic, but completely random at the same time, and so much fun. The only rule, Beth, is that you cannot think twice. You have to say whatever comes to mind.
Okay.
Yeah? Okay. All right. Are you ready to go?
Even unfiltered?
Especially unfiltered.
Okay.
Okay. Number one, your favorite rescue dog trait.
Oh, okay. Chicken.
Your favorite rescue dog trait.
Trait. I thought you said treat. Oh my goodness.
That's a good treat.
Yeah, I'm sure you were like,
You didn't hear me.
Great. I love when my dog looks at me with his old soulful eyes and he's like, I just love you.
Oh.
I love the air you breathe. Can I breathe your air? Can I look in your eyes? That's how he is. And I enjoy that immensely.
Oh my gosh. I remember that so much. I love that. Your go-to comfort food.
Oh, spaghetti.
Oh, mine too.
Oh, the spaghetti with meat sauce. Can't be meatballs. Has to be meat sauce.
Yes. A song that always lifts your spirits.
A couple of them, but Andra Day, Rise Up.
That's a fantastic song. Nobody has said that yet. That's a great song.
I have her 2 or 3 times in my playlist because I just love it so much.
You pop it into different places?
Yeah.
That's smart.
Mm-hmm.
That's smart. What is the worst reporting moment that you can now laugh about?
Oh, there's so many. The worst one. Okay, there was a really good one when I was a little bitty cub reporter in Joplin, Missouri at KOAM television. And you're cutting your chops as an anchor early in your career, and it's a little bitty small market. And the sports reporter and I were at the anchor desk doing the news, and there was this fly that kept flying around us. And this is in the early 90s when big hair was still in. And, I had Aquanet, so I sprayed on my hair, and that darn fly kept getting stuck in my hair.
Oh, no.
While I'm reading a story, a reader, in fact, I couldn't even go to video. It was on a reader. And he kept getting stuck in my hair and then on my face. And then he'd fly to the sports reporter and he's swatting him away. And then he's coming back to me. And this is going on during the whole first segment. Finally, we tossed a break, mainly because we were laughing so hard, that we couldn't even get through the stories. And we're like, this is just a kerfluffle. Let's go to break.
Break. If that was a block, that would be really tough because it's probably a little bit of a harder block to laugh through. But oh my goodness, I don't know what I would have done. It got stuck in your hair.
He got stuck in my hair, and like the sports reporter leaned over to pull it out at one point. Well, then the darn thing's flying around my hair, my head, and he gets stuck on another side, and then he's like landing on my cheek, and I'm like, oh, somebody give me a fly swatter.
Yes, exactly. Coffee, tea, or something else?
Oh, coffee, baby.
How do you take it?
2 Splendas, heavy cream. It's got to look like a milkshake.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay.
I put a little coffee with my cream.
You like a little coffee with your cream. Yeah. I can relate to that. Most unexpected life lesson from journalism?
Oh, boy. Gosh, there's so many. Right. So many. Let's see. Something that was a realization epiphany for me was, as a reporter, it's pretty much you against the world when you go out in the field every day. There's, not a lot of backup. It's going to be you and your crew, and the quality of the work you get and how good it is really up to you. There's not a lot of backup.
Yep, I agree with that. Favorite book or movie about justice?
Oh, I've got a good one. Can I share a documentary?
Absolutely.
Elizabeth Smart. I was asked to be in a documentary with her. Of course, Elizabeth Smart was a sexual assault victim and a kidnap victim in Utah. Oh gosh, how many years ago? 15 years ago, maybe? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be right. And she has a foundation and she puts together productions with the Lifetime Network. And she was putting together, and she only focuses on the positive, getting women together across the country, very well-known survivors and escape artists from their captors, and got them together to talk about what it is in their personalities, how they could find the self-fortitude to get through and escape and, come out of this on the other side. Yeah. And deal with their trauma. So that documentary was amazing, and I'm very honored to be a part of that. I loved that. And then, I'm sorry, what was your other question?
Well, the next one is, what's your personal mantra?
Oh, my personal mantra. I have 2 of them. Hold on. And that got me through a lot of the early days of drinking. I would just tell myself, hold on. Just get to tomorrow and you can start to stack your days, stack your hours, stack your days. And then the other is an Eleanor Roosevelt quote, that which doesn't kill me makes me stronger.
That's great. Your most memorable, honestly, I don't even know why I gave you this question. This was a question I've never, ever liked when people asked me, but just because it's here, I'll ask it. What's your most memorable interview?
Gosh, so many. There were a couple of them. I would say one of the most memorable interviews. There was a little girl in Minnesota. Her name was Elena Erdl. And she lived in Watkins, I believe, a rural community. And a family friend was staying with the family, and they woke up in the morning and their little daughter was gone, and so was the family friend. So, statewide manhunt, Amber Alert went nationwide. And a few hours later, the next day, I believe, police found her body. And then they found the friend that owned up that he had kidnapped and sexually assaulted her. The family, kept to themselves. And of course, we as media, we want to go talk with them, because who better to tell us and help us appreciate the magnitude of this little girl's life and the impact on her community than her family, her parents or grandparents. And I tried to door knock like we do and reach out to the family. And every day we kept going to this community, which is like 2 hours away from Minneapolis. And the family kept shutting us down. And I have this persistence in me and a no quit attitude. And one day I told my crew, let's swing by the house one more time. Let's just give it a shot. I would really love to hear from this family, because I was just so enamored with this little girl too, of her smile. It was so big, it broke your heart. And so we get to the home, and there was some sort of a gathering going on. It looked like a barbecue in the back. And I saw Grandma and Grandpa come up, who I've talked to many times, to stop me on the sidewalk and not allow me to get too close to the home. And we're always very gracious and respectful. And I thought, if I could just hang here long enough, maybe Mom and Dad will see me. Maybe they'll come over. And they did, thank goodness. And Mom and Dad came over, and they said, how can we help you? And I said, we would love to hear about your daughter from the people who knew her best. Mm-hmm. I can say all sorts of things on TV, and no one's going to remember that, but they will remember what you say. And is there any chance that you would line up Mom and Dad, Grandma and Grandpa, and then paternal Grandma and Grandpa, and I won't ask any questions, and each one of you just give us a statement about Elena? Would you do that and share that with the rest of the state? They did, and I was blown away. And I promised them we wouldn't edit it. We'd keep everything intact. And that newscast, then the whole first segment, the whole first block was about Elena. We had to touch just a little bit on what happened to her, but it was about how this little girl lived and how she lit up people's lives all around her, and that her parents could muster the courage to talk with us and share that. Just really, it blew me away. And so I wanted to share their daughter with the rest of the state, so we all knew what we were missing.
That's amazing. That is amazing. And that's memorable.
It was memorable.
Yeah. What does your ideal day off look like?
Oh, sleeping in a little bit.
Yes.
So maybe sleeping into 8 or 9, coffee, got to have coffee. You've already heard about that. And then my dogs, they're always with me. And so, we go outside in our backyard here. I live in the desert southwest now of Utah, close to Zion National Park. Okay. So it's just beautiful. So we go outside, I have coffee, I watch the golfers, the hackers, miss their balls just behind my home. And then I have wonderful friends here. And so I'll go over to their home and we have coffee together too. We kind of debrief our day before and also talk about what we're doing that day. And that is also what helped to get me through recovery, because early on, I would go over to friends' house or homes, the next day or that night if I was feeling weak or I needed to reach out. And we've just kept that up. So I will go to their homes and we have coffee. We talk about everything. It's friendship in the highest and best form. We might go to lunch. I do a lot of writing right now. So I've written the first book, Standby, which is about my fall. And now I have a sequel to it. It's called Still Standing, and that's about the rise. So I'll come home and spend about 5 hours each day working and writing on that. I always do yoga. I meditate every day religiously. I take the dogs for walks, which is very important to me. And I have a grounding mat as well. And I'll lay on that grounding mat to get all the good juju going in my body. And then because I'm a writer and we read a lot news as well, right? I always keep books around. So I like to read other people's memoirs and their books as well. And that's a typical day. Sometimes I might go out to dinner or I'll stay home and cook dinner. Yeah. And right now it's WNBA season. So I catch a little Caitlin Clark at night.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Hey, yeah.
What's a secret talent that you have that nobody knows about?
A secret talent. I'm laughing because I don't have a lot. I can't sing. I can't dance. I'm clumsy as all get out. A single talent. I would say I'm a dog whisperer. I can easily, win over most dogs, and I love other people's dogs.
It's a fantastic talent.
Oh, well, thank you. Mutual love.
Yeah, absolutely. What is something that you are quietly proud of?
That it's not so quiet, that I've stayed sober for 16 years. I'm very proud of that. It's not been an easy haul, and it's not supposed to be. But when you work for something that's worth something, the 16 years of sobriety, I'm very proud of that.
Well done. That's amazing. What's coming next for you?
Well, I hope a bunch. So I've got the sequel that'll probably be coming out within the next 6 months or so. Okay. And then I just met with some folks talking about maybe doing a podcast, kind of spin it off this platform a little bit. So that's an option. I do a little bit of modeling and acting as well, because I thought once I left TV news a few years ago, what can I do that would capitalize on skills I already have, talking on camera, going live, reading the teleprompter. I would say my acting skills leave a lot to be desired. So I'm more of a background actor, if you know what I mean. You might see me, in the distance in some movies. I do not have speaking parts. For me to rub my tummy and pat my head and talk it's a disaster to see. So those are things that I'm working on now. And I just really want to keep writing, because writing has helped to save me through this whole process too.
That's fantastic. What is your best piece of advice for someone who is facing a tough story?
Facing a tough story as in their life, or covering someone's story?
A tough story, like their life is just, they're having a tough moment.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And we all have them. None of us are immune from that. What I say is, it sounds so simple, but don't give up. Mm-hmm. Every hour that you put together, whatever your challenge is that you're dealing with, if it's mental health, if it's regrets in your life from making bad decisions, or, you're like me, you drop an atomic bomb in your life, do not give up. Every hour you put together turns into a day. And then each of those days builds on each other and they stack up. Do not give up, because you will get to the other side.
That's great, Beth. I'm so in awe of who you are and your story. Thank you for taking the time to come and share this on this podcast. I know that when women tune into this podcast, whether they're hearing it or able to actually see it, because not all of the platforms are the same, but when they're able to hear it or see it, the number one goal is for a woman to walk away and say, if she did it, maybe I can do it too.
Absolutely.
Right?
And that's, when you go to these meetings and you look around, why are we all there? To share our experiences, to help others to get to the other side. And I literally lost everything, including my identity. I had no money. I was going to be homeless if a friend didn't let me live with them. And when you get out of treatment and get out of jail and Inside Edition is parked in your driveway. You know, I literally lost everything. So when I say that you can sit down, take a look at your life and go, okay, we got to pivot now. This is what we've done in life. We must pivot. And so that's what I did. I pivoted, and it's made the biggest difference in my life. And I share that with people because pivoting is going to be so worth it. And it's going to make your life even better than it was before. You've got a clear mind. You get your credibility back. Your family members will talk with you again. You're not causing tension in your personal relationships and your friendships. You know, you aren't doing behaviors that you have to wake up the next day and go, what did I do or say last night? Or I don't have that ick anymore. And so I really emphasize to women, shame holds us back, you know, and we think no one wants to be labeled an alcoholic. And shame holds us back from getting treatment, but you don't want to be labeled an alcoholic because you're afraid you're going to lose everything. Well, you're going to lose everything anyway. At some point, because alcoholism is a progressive disease, or substance abuse is a progressive disease. And I had to live all the way to the ending so I could go back and tell the beginning now for other people and to show them the way to transformation. It is possible. I'm sitting here, I'm talking to you about it. I've written a book about it. You know, and the response that I'm getting from emails and people, I got one from, he said, I'm a celebrated CEO. I don't want to tell you my name, but he said, I still struggle, and listening to you on air right now, he said, has been really helpful for me. And, you know, you kind of wonder in the journey, I used to joke at one point, I'm famous or infamous, depending on how you looked at it.
Depends.
And if I can help him to not drink that day, that just makes a huge difference, because then he may not drink for 2 days, and then it may be 3 days. And that's how we all can help each other. Is I went through, everyone's rock bottom is different. I like to say I hit grave dirt. If I can rebuild from grave dirt, my career was better. I'm healthy again. I have my relationships back. I have the credibility of those around me. I got my identity back. It can be done. It's work, but it's very much worth it. And that's where the joy is. That's where the reward is.
That's so great. Last question, Beth, is what does it mean to you to be unmuted?
Wow, to be unmuted. What a powerful question, and a good one to end on. You know, to be unmuted is to own my behavior, apologize to the people I've hurt, because I caused a lot of collateral damage, and live by example, because that's the only way to influence other people around us. And something that I'd like to point out too, in addition, I told you about that we women absorb more alcohol in our bodies. There was a study done by the Journal of American Medical Association during COVID, so during the pandemic, that 50% more of middle-aged women, 30s to 65, 50% more of us went to the hospital for alcohol-related complications, you know, because people are stuck in their homes. What are you doing? You can't go to work. You can't do anything. So you're drinking more. Wow. And I want to raise awareness about that, because 90% of the people go back to the arms of the devil that brought you there in the first place. Only 10% really, really get the help. So I want to encourage other women to become part of the 10%. Join me. Let's make it 11%. Let's go to 20 and 30% of people who get the help that they need. And that becomes its own movement too, and picks up steam.
Wow. Beth, I am very, very proud to say this. Welcome to the Unmuted family. I'm so happy that you're here. High five.
High five. See, when you get recovery and you ask for help, your family grows.
Your family grows. And I'm so grateful that you're a part of our family now. Thank you for being here. And how can women and anyone, how can they follow you? How can they find you? And how can they support you?
Oh, gosh. Thank you. Thank you for asking that. Support is such a big word. So I'm on all the social medias, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, and then I have an author website, bethmcdmedia.com. So you can go to the author website, and we have a link on there where people can sign up to get on a waiting list for the book. There's a waiting list for it. The publishers print them as fast as we can get them out, but it's taking a little bit. And so also on the author website, and the books are sold anywhere the books are sold, Amazon, Kindle, ebooks, Barnes and Noble, Ingram, they'll be available. Anyone who's looking to find a book will be able to get a hold of it. But you can also just go to my website, punch in your information, and the second the next book is hot off the presses, I'll get it out to that person, because I'm the person doing that, and I want to make sure everyone gets what they're after.
That's great. If this episode resonated with you, please share it, like it, send it to a friend, another woman who really needs to hear Beth's story, because I know there's so many of us out there who really do need to hear her story and need to hear the story of resilience within her story. So please send this out. Beth, it has been a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on the show and being with us today.
I'm honored and humbled to be part of the Unmuted family now.
Oh my gosh. And you did a fantastic job with Hot Mic. You were amazing.
Okay, thank you. Shoosh.
You did great. You did great. And thank you guys so much for watching. And we will see you next time on Unmuted. Thanks again, Beth. Bye.
Got it.
What you just heard wasn't just a story. It was a spark, a glimpse into the heart of a woman living for purpose, and a reminder that when one woman shares, another woman wakes up to what's possible. These aren't just conversations, they're catalysts. I'm your host, Anjali Marshall, and this is the Unmuted Podcast, where voices rise, stories connect, and purpose finds its volume. Until next time, friends, stay unmuted.